So this next series of questions is going to be all about double-faced cards, specifically the transforming variety. So get very familiar with our new friend, Fearful Villager, who is a 2/3 human werewolf with menace and daybound. If you're not familiar with the daybound nightbound mechanic, I probably should have picked. Looking back, I should have picked a different, simpler mechanic to do this with, but it's fine. So basically, the game can track whether it's day or night. Cards with daybound have a backside that has nightbound, and when day becomes night, the day side flips to the night side. And that's just the mechanic of how those cards transform. So, our friend Fearful Villager, Menace and Daybound, you cast a copy, a clone, to enter the battlefield as a copy of our Fearful Villager. Sometime later, it becomes night. Ooh, and you see the original, the non-copy Fearful Villager transforms into Fearsome Werewolf, where it now has nightbound. So when it goes back to being day, the Fearsome Werewolf will transform back into Fearful Villager. So my question here, and we can put a poll in chat for this one. My first question, you can just answer yes or no in the chat if you want for this. My first question is, when it becomes night, does the copy, the clone that we cast, transform? And you can just type yes or no.
You want to ask one more time? Just to clarify your question.
Yeah, so we're asking, so we used a clone to have it become a copy of a Fearful Villager. I'm like moving my mouse around like you can see it. So we cast this clone to have it become a copy of the Fearful Villager. And then when it transforms, when it becomes night, when it becomes night, the original Fearful Villager will transform into Fearsome Werewolf. So my question for you is, will the clone that we made that's now a copy of Fearful Villager also transform?
We have some no's in chat here.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, right. So the correct answer is no. The clone itself, the physical magic card that is clone, is not a transforming card. It has a normal magic bath. And so the rules of the game say, under no circumstances can this card transform. It's not allowed to because it's not a double-sided card. It's not a transforming card. So then, my follow-up question, and we can drop a poll in chat for this one. What are the clone's characteristics now that it is nighttime? Option A, is it a Fearful Villager, the front side, or option B, is it a Fearsome Werewolf, the back side?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the poll. Get those votes in there, friends. Come on, get those votes in there. All right, we got some.
Yeah. Go boldly. Yes, boldly.
It's true. Don't be afraid to be wrong, friends. Get those votes in there. We're about halfway through. All right. Got about 15 seconds left.
Yeah, we're really gonna put this transforming stuff through the ringer. We're gonna examine it under a microscope and learn all the fun ins and outs.
All right, and 2, 1. Here we go. Okay, so we have 2 votes for A.
Okay, well, good job, those of you that voted for A, because that is the correct answer. So remember when we talked about double-faced permanents, that for most copy effects, they will just see the whatever side of the card is currently face up. That's all the copyable information that they can find. So this clone, when its copy effect begins to apply as it enters the battlefield, will see Fearful Villager, and that's all the information it has to go on. So when it becomes night, not only can it not transform, but it only has the Fearful Villager to look at anyway. So it just remains a Fearful Villager forever. All right. We're doing this again. We're gonna come back to the scenario a lot for this double-faced stuff.
So Fearful Villager is our new
Fearful Villager
our
is
new Runeclaw bear?
the new Runeclaw bear.
Got it.
We were memeing on Runeclaw bear, but I was hiding this the whole time. So this time you have your Fearful Villager. It's currently day, but you're going to cast Quasi-Duplicate, which is a sorcery that creates a token that's a copy of a creature you control. So when your Quasi-Duplicate resolves, you make a copy of the Fearful Villager, but this time it's a token.
So it's not a permanent. Well, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not a card with a magic back.
Yes. So sometime later, it becomes night. So the same first question as last time that you can just answer yes or no in the chat. When it becomes night, does the token we created transform?
Yes or no in chat, friends.
Yep.
I have some yeses. We have some yeses.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's absolutely correct. Remember, so when we talked about it last time, because the token was created as a copy of a transforming permanent, the token itself is a transforming permanent and it can transform. So then the follow-up question, and we can do a poll for this one, is what are the token's characteristics? We have option A for the front side, option B is for the back side. And this is sort of the format we're going to be following for these transforming questions. I'm going to describe to you a scenario. I'm going to ask you if the token can, if the copy can transform, and then I'm going to ask you what the copy's characteristics are after it either transforms or doesn't transform.
Okay, we'll start the poll for this, and Natalie, we went ahead and put your question into the queue. Get those answers in there, friends. We're about halfway done with our time.
All right.
Did this rule change when they printed the incubate tokens?
Yeah, this was a whole new system of rules when March of the Machine came out, and they printed, because incubator tokens are, as I understand it, still currently the only kind of token that can transform. And so before, like, a token also wasn't a transforming card and would not be allowed to transform.
And all that information was in the release notes.
It's true.
That's where we found out. All right, we have 3 votes for B.
All right, you guys are on it. The correct option is B. So, as we said before, tokens created as copies of transforming permanents, they do inherit the copyable values of both sides. And so the tokens can transform, and when they do, they will look like the appropriate side of the original that they were copying, because they inherited the copyable values of both sides. All right, a third time, but this time we have a new friend. This is Bird Admirer. Bird Admirer, similarly, is a creature with the day-bound, night-bound mechanic, but it's a little bit different. So this time, you control Fearful Villager and Bird Admirer. It's currently day. You once again cast Quasi-Duplicate to create a token that is a copy of Fearful Villager. Boom. So this will look very familiar to last time, but this time, we're going to change it up a little bit. Now we're going to cast True Polymorph. And remember, True Polymorph is an instant that turns a target artifact or creature into a copy of another target artifact or creature. So we're going to have our token copy of Fearful Villager become a copy of Bird Admirer. Ta-da! So we have what we have here now, this token, is a token that was created as a copy of Fearful Villager and has now been turned into a copy of Bird Admirer via another copy effect. So sometime later, it becomes night. Bah. And so my first question for you, as always, is, and you can just type this in the chat, when it becomes night, does the token that we created transform?
Okay, can you walk through that example one more time? Also,
yep.
Quick.
So we have we used quasi-duplicate to create a token that was a copy of Fearful Villager, one transforming card. And then after we made that token, we used a different copy effect to turn the token that we created into a copy of a different transforming card. And so the question now is, that's what this Bird Admirer token is, created as a copy of Fearful Villager, but later became a copy of Bird Admirer. When it becomes night, does that token transform?
All right. Alex says yes. Benji says yes.
All right, yeah, you guys are on it. The token will transform because the token was created as a copy of a transforming permanent. The token itself is a transforming permanent and can transform. But now my next question is, now that the token has transformed, what are the token's characteristics? So you can see here, we can start a poll for this. We have 4 options that essentially boil down to A is the front side of Fearful Villager, B is its backside, C is the front side of Bird Admirer, what we turned our token into a copy of, and then D is the backside of the Bird Admirer.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start the poll.
Yep. Yeah, so the important thing to know about whether or not the thing can transform is when the object was created, was it created as a copy of a transforming card? And that sort of creates this, like, intrinsically, what is the token? If that makes sense. So when that token is created, if it intrinsically is a transforming card or a transforming permanent, then it will be allowed to transform.
All right, get those votes in there. Don't be afraid to disagree.
Charge bravely forward. Not blindly forward, but bravely.
Be
bold.
Example 9, we have 4 votes for D. We have consensus.
Okay. And that would be a reasonable thing to assume. However, strangely, the correct answer is C. So we're gonna walk through this because this one is a little goofy, and also this is really more of just a kind of academic example. I would be shocked if this ever actually happens to you in a game, but just so we fully understand what's happening here. So the token is a double-sided permanent, so it can transform. However, the copy effect created by True Polymorph can only reference the copyable values of the front side of Bird Admirer because that's all the information it could see, right? So remember when we said that most copy effects, when they look at a double-sided permanent, will only see what's face up. The only exception to that is copy effects that create tokens that are copies of it. So let's step through these layers real quick. So whenever we get stuck on a layers question or a copy effects question, remember, we got to remember this process we talked about earlier, right? So we always start with what is printed on the card. In the case of tokens, we treat the characteristics defined by the effect that created the token as what's printed on the card. So in this case, that is a Fearful Villager, right? Except right now it's night. So really, this is what we're looking at in terms of what was printed on the card. Next, we'll apply the continuous effect created by True Polymorph that applies as the copy effect in layer 1A. And when True Polymorph first started to apply, it referenced the copyable values of Bird Admirer, the front face of that card. And because True Polymorph does not meet the exception for copy effects, that is creating a token that's a copy of something, True Polymorph cannot see the backside of a card, right? And so when it first started to apply, it saw Bird Admirer, so it will always just continue to paste the characteristics of Bird Admirer on top of this token. Now, this distinction of the object can transform but doesn't look like it transformed is really only relevant if you, like, there are permanents that care about when something transforms. So, like, there's permanents with triggered abilities when a thing you control transforms. So the transition from day to night here would trigger that ability, even though this token doesn't look like anything other than what it was before. And so that's another weird one. Please, if you have questions about it, don't be afraid to ask, and I would love to try to clarify that again. All right. I just can't get enough of Fearful Villager. So we're back here again. Thank you.
Actually, can we
Yes.
hop into a question? There's a question that I think you can probably answer relatively quickly.
I would love to.
We have from Natalie. What happens if I copy a transforming card like the Fearful Villager with an MDFC that does have a backside but not inherently a way to transform, like Glasspool Mimic?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the answer to that question is yes, Glasspool Mimic is a double-faced card, but Glasspool Mimic is a modal double-faced card. So because Glasspool Mimic isn't a transforming double-faced card, the rules say under no circumstance can this card transform. And so something like Glasspool Mimic, that is a modal double-faced card that becomes a copy of something, will be lumped into the category of most copy effects that don't see the backside. So if you did that, if you used Glasspool Mimic to copy Fearful Villager, the Glasspool Mimic would just be Fearful Villager forever.
Yeah, Natalie had the answer to that in chat. They said, I feel like I know the answer given how Brad keeps stressing the transforming
Yes.
part. And I has heard that MDFCs don't transform, though that might somehow change with Spider-Man, but we don't know anymore. Yeah,
who knows? Spider-Man is going to be a thing. But all right. So
you couldn't hear my question. I'm sorry. What happens if I copy a transforming card like the Fearful Villager with an MDFC that does have a backside, but not inherently a way to transform, like Glasspool Mimic? So, yeah, that was the question. That was what Brad just answered.
Cool. Love it. Great question. That honestly is probably something I should have considered for this presentation. I like that. If I do this again, I'll try to remember that one. All right. So we're back on Fearful Villager again, though. This time, we're going to cast Croaking Counterpart. So you may remember Croaking Counterpart from before. It creates a token that's a copy of a creature, except it's a 1/1 green frog. So when our Croaking Counterpart resolves, we will create a token that's a copy of Fearful Villager, but you can see here that it is a 1/1, it is green, and it is a frog. So then, sometime later, it becomes night. Bye-bye. So, my first question, as per usual, this token that we created, can it transform? And you can just answer in the chat, yes or no.
Yeah, and while they're answering yes or no to this, yeah. Can you just walk through the question one more
Absolutely.
time?
So, this question is similar to the one with Quasi-Duplicate. It's similar to all the ones with Quasi-Duplicate. This time, so the major change here, right? We've used this card, Croaking Counterpart, which creates a token that's a copy of a creature, but it specifies some number of characteristics that differ from the original. So in this case, with Croaking Counterpart, we're making a token that's a copy of Fearful Villager, except the token copy that we're making, instead of being a 2/3 red human werewolf, it is a 1/1 green frog. But everything else about the token is the same as the original.
Okay. So can it transform? And we have 2 yeses in chat to answer that question.
All right. Yes. You have caught the pattern. This token was created as a copy of a transforming permanent, so the token itself is a transforming permanent, and it can transform. But
that little soundbite there is what everybody should remember.
It's on repeat over and over. So then the next question, and this will be a good one to do a poll for. What are the characteristics of the token now that it has transformed? The first option is A, which is a regular old unbothered fearsome werewolf. Option B is still the front face fearful villager, but it's a 1/1 green frog. And option C, I'll duck out of the way, is the backside of the fearful villager, but it's also a 1/1 green frog.
Okay, I will start the poll. What is the power and toughness on C? They can't see it.
Yeah, sorry, it's 1/1. I hope I'm out of the way enough. I might not be. I can't actually see myself right now.
Mm-hmm. You're not out of the way enough, but it's a 1/1. All right, get those votes in there, friends. What do we think? Brad, I just want to say you did a really good job making all of these different versions of these cards in like a custom card crafter.
Oh, thank you.
Just so, yeah, like you did a really great job with this.
I appreciate that compliment.
That's probably a lot of work.
Yeah, fortunately, this was back in my judge days. I did a judge presentation on this same topic, and so I could just kind of borrow a lot of the assets I used from that one for this one.
Back in your judge days, honey, you're doing a judge presentation on Twitch
I mean,
right
yeah,
now. Anyway,
that's true.
So it looks like we have 4 votes for C.
All right, yeah, you guys are on it. That was excellent. Well done. The correct answer is C. So, right, the token was created as a transforming permanent, so it can transform, but the changes to its characteristics, i.e., it being a 1/1 green frog, do apply to both sides. So, very well done. Give yourselves a pat on the back, a round of applause, whatever. That was very well done, chat.